Welcome to the Paradigm Shapeshifter Show. This show is all about shifting perspectives to create space for new ideas, solutions, and options. I talk to what I call paradigm shapeshifters. Amazing people who have changed their lives by embracing the unexpected and unpredictable. Call them rebels, eccentrics, divergents, or troublemakers. They all have that spark of genius and they're happy to let you look at the world through their eyes. In today's episode, a conversation with Veronica Chase. Veronica incorporates human design intelligence with the best practices she learned over the last 25 years as a global human resources leader, workshop facilitator, and career coach. She helps her clients unlock the enormous potential of their life and career and shines a light on their emotional, psychological, and energetic makeup, giving them the self-awareness and tools they need to achieve high levels of success. Oh my God, Veronica, I look so forward to having this conversation with you because I met you, I think 1.5 years or 2 years ago while we were going through human design certification together. And
Yes.
we immediately had a click because we, of course, had the human design together, but we also have a love for astrology. And when I got to know you a bit better, I was truly amazed and about the process that you went through to become Veronica Blackwell Chase.
Yeah. Oh gosh, Patty, that of course is a big story. I was not, of course, born Veronica Blackwell Chase. But what had happened was over a period of time, and I guess in many ways there's so much to this story, right? Because it's the entire journey of life that kind of led me to that point of really, lots of development, professional development and spiritual development, personal development over the years. And that's the work that I do. I'm in the field of leadership development. And so I've done a lot of that work with other people, and I've done a lot of that for myself. And the one thing that I think that's also true of kind of me and my background is that my life has been filled with a lot of different experiences and patterns, if you will, patterns that I've noticed again and again. And what had happened in particular, kind of leading into 2018, is that I was noticing that there were just undesirable patterns repeating again and again and again in my life. And these weren't minor things. These were big things. And I was just frustrated with it in the sense that I felt like I would put so much energy and effort and time and enthusiasm into doing something only to see it maybe crumble, right before me. Maybe not right away, but that time would come where all my effort seemed to just be like, well, what happened? And so it got, pretty difficult there in 2018. I would really say the latter part of 2018. And I just really started questioning, like, what is going on here for me, right? I've done so much development. I've done so much of my own work and uncovering and healing and all of these things in my life. Why couldn't I figure this out for myself? And what had happened was I ended up, nothing is by accident. As far as I'm concerned, the universe put in front of me a video from a YouTube creator where she talked about why she made a full legal name change. And I had never heard of anyone doing such a thing ever. I didn't know of anyone doing. I mean, aside from, the common things, right? Getting married or, getting divorced or whatever, but not just like, oh, I'm just going to completely change my name. And from the get-go, I was really, intrigued about kind of the why she did it and what it meant for her doing it. So I'll pause there a moment. I mean, there's more and more to say, but I
Yeah.
just wanted to give a bit of that backdrop.
Yeah, I love that, and of course I know this story about you, and but leading up to this name change, I mean, falling into these patterns, and I think and that's why I love having you here on this show, is that people that actually work in the field of personal development, leadership development, like you and I both do,
Mhm.
we of course very human, and have our own stuff as well that we have to deal with, and but that you had such an original approach to, okay, I'm going to break this pattern. This is in NLP we call this break state. Okay, I'm going to do something completely
Right.
different. So, but this video that came to you in a sense, and made you trigger. Probably it made you trigger thinking about, okay, what would that entail, and what would um because I think there's a very deep layer. It's not about, oh, I'm not happy with myself, so I changed my name. It's a lot deeper than that. So can you speak a bit to that?
Definitely. Yeah, definitely deep. Because what happened was, once I started looking into this further, and the organization in particular that this YouTube creator worked with and I worked with was called the Capillarian Society. And that's their focus, is really on the energy and the numerology of names. And, I really, being the consummate learner that I am, I dove in, headfirst to just see, okay, what is this all about? And I read and read and read and just sort of took in everything that I could learn about it. I mean, really what happens is, if we think really kind of big picture and energetically, right? We're born, our parents give us a name at birth, and that infuses a level of energy all around us. The name, the energetics of the name, and the numerology of the name, and then the patterns that kind of emerge from that, including the way we think and then the way we go forward and live our life and have experiences, are really all emerging from the name. And that can be wild, I think, to grasp. Like, come on, like, my name has all of that power. Yes. Yes, it does. And it was when I began to understand that, and I looked back on my name, and that's a married name. So I took my husband's name on, and then even my family name, prior to getting married, and I started researching all the dynamics of those names. I really came to a whole new understanding in many ways of kind of why I thought and behaved the way that I did, because it was coming from the energy of my name. And of course, this doesn't happen in a vacuum, right? I have my own experiences, but when we interact together, then there are other experiences kind of come into play as well. But the pattern with that birth name was set. So, I came to realize that here's how I came to really think of it, Patty. It might look like, wow, she changed her name, but really what it felt like was I was in a suit
Mm-hmm.
of that name. I unzipped it, took it off,
Yeah.
and stepped forward to reveal Veronica Blackwell Chase.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Wow.
really what it felt like the truth of it. Like that other name and those other patterns and those ways of thinking and being, that was not my true self.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
It's
it's
so
been a discovery.
it is really interesting because this whole concept of self, and you and I both working with astrology, with human design, we actually help people to be themselves, to
Yes.
get to who they truly are. Both you and I are doing in a sense kind of the same work. And and one of the things that clients always tell me in some shape or form, they always say, oh, you've given me so much permission to be myself, um, as if we need permission to be ourselves. So that's
Yeah.
interesting because there's a lot of social training going on, but and that's why I love your story so much, because I never gave it a thought that even being born, coming out of my mother and having a name already is like an energetic an energetic, I don't know, it like pinpoints the energy. Oh, I'm Patty Post. I always kept my name Patty Post.
Yeah.
And I love my name, so I can really relate to my name. But it's so interesting because I never thought about being yourself on a deep level can also mean, in your case, that is that the whole being born and being named felt off for you. I think that's so interesting,
Yeah.
looking at the self, the true self, in that way, including the name that you got at birth. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And again, it was really such a process of learning to come to think that, or realize that, there really is something around this. See, I also have spent a lot of years studying numerology, and I've done a lot around just numerology and tarot, as well as the astrology and the human design, in addition to all of like the corporate type focus sorts of things, right? To me, all of these elements are tools, right, to help me understand myself and to help others understand themselves. And here's the thing that's also interesting. There were various names that were presented to me that could have worked for me, because this is where there is a linkage with astrology, because the time and date of our birthday and place come into play as well, in terms of what names will ultimately, it's about like raising your energy up to a whole new level. That's what I wanted to do. I was curious to see, what would this mean in my life? And not that this was a small change, like, we'll get into that, I'm sure. Like, this had far reaching consequences in my life. I shocked, people on a daily basis, but the whole thing of choosing the name Veronica Blackwell Chase, a lot of it had to do with, I was looking at the various names, and what I noticed was I was really having almost like this magnetic connection with that full name. And, so it felt right. And I got to a point, and I know I shared this with you, early on, where as I started like rolling around the name Veronica Blackwell Chase, I would find myself, because I hadn't done anything yet. Nobody knew that I was even thinking about this. This was completely a secret. It was in just myself exploring this. And I would find myself over the course of the day saying, well, what would Veronica do?
I
How would
love
she
that. I love that.
approach,
Yeah.
this situation differently than the person I was? And I have to say, even that started the shift of me thinking about, I don't need to stay in this box that I didn't even realize I was in. That's the thing. It's not like, gee, I'm in a box, I don't know how to get out. No, I didn't even realize I was in a box. I have been very successful in my life. I have, really risen up through my career. I've traveled a lot. I have a great family and marriage, right? There's lots of wonderful things that I have a deep appreciation for in my life, and a lot of gratitude. I didn't think I was in a box. it was really just upon, this creator sharing it, which is why, I'm so glad you invited me to talk about this, because you know what? Maybe it'll have that trigger for someone else.
Right.
It has had a profound change, in my life, because someone was willing to share their story.
Yeah.
And, I then explored it for myself. And I have to say too, that, through the months, and it took me actually many months to ultimately move forward and decide to make it legal. So it's not like I just created a little name on the side. I fully and legally changed my name. So in the United States, that means I am going to the court and seeking their approval. And that was a journey in and of itself, of just going through that process of me having to get legal approval to make this change. There were a million reasons, Patty, why I thought, oh my God, people are going to think I'm crazy. I cannot do this. Like, this is going to have such implications in my life. And every time I went through that whole thing, and I came back to a singular truth, and that was that I have to do this because it felt right and true for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's it. Like, I didn't owe anybody else an explanation of it. Not my husband, not my family, not anybody. It was just true and right for me. And the question that it came down to was, am I going to honor this for myself, or am I going to continue, now that I realized I was in a box, am I just going to go ahead and put myself now back in the box?
Yeah.
Or am I going to,
Right. Yeah.
burst out on the scene as Veronica Blackwell Chase?
Yeah, I love that. And of course, you and I have worked together, and you're my Sagittarius friend. We are both from the Sagittarius family. So we have this, we don't want to be in a box. So no way, we are staying in the box. But and this is interesting because I notice you have quite some Capricorn energy as well. And to me, this name change is quite a Capricorn Saturnal process, where you have to keep on like almost a stoic, putting one foot in front of the other, really honoring whatever is inside of you. Capricorn is the sign of integrity. My inside and my actions are like as close as they can, and it's not like, oh, I'm doing this for somebody else. And I live in the Netherlands, which is historically a more progressive country, and name changes, I'm not sure how that goes here, but it's probably a lot less complicated and hard than it is in the States. But you stepping up to that energy, because feeling that's right, that's the Capricorn great work, feeling, okay, I'm in a box, feeling, okay, this is not right for me, I am going to make a change, and I have the courage, and I have the the stamina to follow through. I mean, that took quite some energy and courage, and and it's that stoic Capricorn energy. I'm truly sure that this is the energy, the Saturnal Capricorn energy, that kept you going through this process, because it was about honoring who you truly are. And so I love that. Yeah.
And that, I just think everything that you said is, so absolutely true. Like the integrity and this feeling that I must do this, and that this was an important next step in my life that I needed to honor. And I had to go forth and do it. And I have to say, it took huge amounts of courage every single day, because there were many, many steps leading up to the court date, and being in front of a judge. And the judge really grilled me, and it prepared me for what was going to happen with other people around me, because I really did get quite a mix of reactions. I mean, now we're in 2022, we're coming up on 3 years of the time when I changed my name. And of course, I would have done that pre-COVID. I think people were much more nitpicky about everybody else's lives. Now, 3 years later, nobody says a thing to me about it. Like, it's just like a non-issue, but it was a big issue in 2019. And a lot of it looked like, how dare you? Who do you think you are? Now, not with my husband, not with my immediate family, but family on my side, strangers, people out of my immediate circle, somehow felt compelled to dump huge buckets of judgment on me about it. And so did the judge. And it was a female judge, but it really prepared me for just the whole thing of like standing firm in my truth. I knew what I was doing. I knew it was the right thing for me. And all I could do and continue to do is kind of reiterate that fact. This is right and true for me. And it's what, what I needed to do in my life. It was an important refresh and next stage in my life.
Yeah. And what you say about the judgment, and that's always so fascinating. I think judgment is mostly self-judgment, because people usually look at things like this, processes like this, from a place of judgment, but basically it's like, oh, I wouldn't dare doing that, stepping out of a paradigm and just stepping into a complete new one. But because it's hard for people. It's hard for people to, and this is very true in this during and after COVID world, where we can actually see that the things that we always have believed in and that we always thought were true might not be so true.
Yes.
And so I think the whole world, of course, shifted after you changed your name. The whole world started shifting. But
That's
it's
right.
it's so powerful you actually did it pre-COVID, because in that world there was all this judgment, and you
Yeah.
could just say, oh, okay, this is honoring me. This is honoring me, and this is being my best self. So yeah, I mean, kudos for taking
Yeah.
this on
Oh,
in
thank you.
these crazy times. Yeah.
Yeah.
And what I wonder is, and this is a question I ask many times in my coaching as well, because I think it's a powerful question, because what became possible for you after you changed your name?
Yeah. That's the fascinating part of all of this. I mean, I ultimately, did it for all the reasons I've already shared with you, but it was also because, again, I could see patterns working against me. So I was very excited to see like what this was going to mean. And the best way for me to describe it is that every time I'd go to take a next step, whatever that was, it just, things kept like coming right together in place in front of me. It's not like it didn't take, some effort, but it didn't take anywhere near the effort of what I was previously putting in to do things. What I noticed was I just felt more balanced and like more aware of the synchronicities that were kind of occurring around me. I mean, I would notice things like that in the past. And that's the thing to know too. And I should say this, for everyone's benefit. You have your name. It doesn't mean, even if your name is unbalanced and not synced up in the way that I ended up pursuing this with my name. Everybody's name has positive qualities, and everybody's name has potential downsides that we need to be aware of. It's just that the thing that became intriguing to me was that I was noticing too many downsides, and I couldn't put my finger on what was going on. And for me, the name change answered a lot of that. And then, these last 3 years now, I have seen the way, whether it's people I meet like you or other opportunities that have come my way. The other thing, though, in many ways is it is very subtle and very personal. It's almost like a feeling of much more, in many ways, inner peace. Like, I just think in general, I have way less angst about what's going on in my life, or this kind of constant need to pursue in the way that I was before, trying to make everything go my way, right? So now it's a bit more like letting things kind of come in and just trusting timing and all those other things that come into play, like with astrology and human design and everything else that, we use as tools. So, I mean, I feel like that's kind of a big part of it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it kind of raises an interesting question for me, is because this is all about identity, and identity is a very complicated concept, I think. And my question to you would be, and I think I know the answer, but I'll let you answer. Is did you feel like changing your name, did you feel like you have taken on a completely new identity, or did you feel like this is me, or at least more me? You understand what
Yeah,
I'm asking?
I do. No, it's a great question. And I have to say, it's like the latter. It's like more me,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
all those parts. And then that's kind of what I meant too by the comment I just made about, all of our names have positive qualities. So what I've had to learn to notice through the name change, and maybe it's just happened because of the name change, is I can see now some of those positive qualities. Things like being collaborative and being a good friend. There was a lot of two energy from a numerology standpoint in my old name, and a lot of 4. So 2 is very much partnership and friendship and collaboration. 4 is having a technical mind, being able to look at things and to study and take things in. I mean, I think when I look back on my whole life, yeah, I've had many great partnerships and friendships and collaborations with people. And I've learned a lot over the years because of my immense curiosity. So there's a lot of that energy. My balance name now, Veronica Blackwell Chase, there's much more 6 energy in it. And 6 literally is balance. 6 is, it's not any one thing. I do work, but I don't put 500% of my energy in work. I put some of my energy in work. I put some of my energy in relationships and some in my home life and just other parts of who I am. So 6 really is much more about harmony and balance in life and also pleasure and beauty and wanting to kind of experience all of it. So not letting any one thing take control. Or I would say in, the prior iteration of my name, I think, I was over invested in many ways in career and work and money. And it was almost like that Capricorn side of me like took over. And, there wasn't enough balance and time for fun and joy and beauty and just stopping and taking a moment. Now I feel like it's easier in many ways for me to do that. Now, would anybody outside of me notice that? Probably people close to me notice that I'm more relaxed. I've had people say that to me. Oh, you're much calmer. You're much calmer. You're much more easygoing. So those things kind of, I think, have come into play, with that change. So I brought some of the good qualities along with me, and I feel new qualities have come on board.
Yeah. Yeah. And of course, I mean, I can imagine people watching this thinking, oh, okay, I would love that, but I'm not going to change my name. I mean, and I don't think that's actually necessary. And I'll let you speak to this in a moment. But of course, this whole and your approach from the numerology it's all energetic. So
Yes.
in my opinion, and this is what a part of your work is really about, is to help people to get there without necessarily having to go through a name change, but making that energetic change to actually invite more of these other qualities into their lives. So how do you look at this? Because of course you don't invite everybody who watches this to change their name.
No, definitely not. And it's such a great point, Patty, because it's like what this journey has kind of really pointed out to me is that in many ways, I think, sure, I had the power all along. We all have the power all along, but I just couldn't see it. Like, I feel like I can see it now in a different way. For me, the name change was the journey, was the next experience I needed to have, because again, that's really part of my life work. My life work is all about experiences. And, we both understand life work between, astrology and also human design in particular really kind of spells it out. So it's the experience of it for me. I think for people in general, it's really now about just becoming much, much more conscious of who you truly are, who is this blueprint of who you are, that moment in time when you were born, everything that comes with the astrology, your name, and your life experiences that come along the way. And then realizing that I do in fact have the power to make changes, but you do, I think in many ways what can happen, because again, I was there, you're trying to make changes, and you think you're digging deep, but somehow the change isn't coming in the way that you'd want. And I think part of this is like, it's not only just like when we're working with people, and I know we really try to convey this, it's not enough to just understand your astrology or understand your human design. You're going to have to figure out how to live it if you really want to bust out of whatever box you're in and go be another way. And people try to do this. They'll move, they'll get a divorce, they'll go, I'm going to go back to school. I'm going to change my career. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And you could try those things, but you have to remember, you keep bringing you along for the journey.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So
And
you
I
have
think,
to get aware.
yeah, and it's a great point, because and sometimes I do have that too, that clients kind of project the almighty answer and the magic wand on me, huh? Oh, you got all
Yes.
the answers, and of course there is like a framework of answers, and then but you are bringing you just as much as you brought you into a Veronica Blackwell Chase and
That's right.
parts, and but it also made something had new, it gave you new possibilities, had the shape shifting into
Yes.
this persona in a sense made you yeah, it just made a lot new things possible, because I think and you and I have talked quite a bit about this, and this is what you do in your work as well. It's really about getting unstuck, stuck in this box, or
Yes.
stuck in these patterns, and yes, we tend to find external things to actually get out of that stuckness, but of course the answers are always inside of us,
Yeah.
and but it's so interesting how you can now see that, maybe you can now see, I'm not sure if that's true, I think you said it kind of, um now let me ask you this question: in hindsight, was it necessary to change your name? Of course it happened because it needed to happen, but was
Yeah.
it necessary to change your name?
I I think for me it really was.
Mhm.
It really was necessary
Yeah.
for me to literally get unstuck and move through my life in a very new way.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me it was,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And and it kind of because it invokes all kinds of ideas in me while you speak, and I think, oh, this is such a great way to work with your clients and see what it is that makes them honor themselves and take the necessary steps, that it's not like, oh, I need to do all kinds of external things and feel right about myself, but from the inside, what is the right trajectory for you. And for you it was the name change, and for somebody else it can be
Yeah.
something entirely different, because of
It
course.
really, it definitely could be. I mean, I think, ultimately you have to feel aligned. And here's the thing I would also say, because again, this is my design and this is my background and my experience, but because I am so finely attuned to patterns and experiences, not just in my own life, but in when I work with other people, I can see it. I can see the patterns that are working against people and the experiences that are working against them. And, try to coach and direct and use the tools to help them see another side. But what I would say for anybody out there is that you really do have to look at your patterns,
Mm.
because if you just keep getting the same result, I mean, I think Einstein said that, right? It's like, if you're going to keep doing the same thing over and over and over and expecting a different result, well, you're not going to get that.
Yeah.
You are going to have to change something, but not in a superficial way. And this is what I meant before. It's like, well, I'll change house, I'll do this, I'll do that. Yeah, when you do that, you kind of kick up the dust, if you will, and all this change is happening and you feel like something's happening, something's changing. And then that settles down. And then you realize, oh my gosh, it all feels pretty much the same. Now I just have a new car, or I have a new house, or I have, I don't have a husband or a spouse or whatever. I'm still me, and I'm still behaving in exactly the same way I was behaving before.
Yeah.
And that the truth of that can be very difficult.
Hmm.
I mean, I had to come through that dark night of the soul with that, right? I had to walk through that very intense place of saying, I am going to shed this old identity that I was wearing, and I'm going to step into a new one. And I'm going to bring people along, with me on this journey. And they might not initially like that, but this is what I'm going to do. So it wasn't just, again, the veneer of a name change. Like that would be just a superficial aspect of things. It was about how the process and the energetics of it changed me.
Yeah, exactly. And that's exactly what I felt, is that it's not like a distraction or a diversion, just, cutting your hair or dyeing it
Right.
black. I don't know. It's
Yeah.
that internal process, in a sense. The word that really resonates with Sagittarius is the quest, and that's the journey,
Yes.
of course, which is never about the outer journey. It is, of course, about the inner journey. So you had
Yeah.
your grail quest towards who you were, in a sense. And it's a big one. It was not the easiest way to step into the new you, or the true you. I
Oh, no,
no.
no. I mean, I certainly had a mix of reactions. Generally speaking, I think about when any change that we go through in life, anything, you have your immediate circle. So your immediate family, you have that next layer out, friends and people who know you pretty well. And then you have people who know you through other people, right? The outer circle. you know, the inner circle, it kind of went in both directions as well. Some people were just immediately supportive in my immediate circle, and others could not stop asking me why. And what I came to realize is that though they may have been asking me the question they were really asking of themselves, that I've noticed, is they were asking themselves why they couldn't be
Yeah.
big and audacious in their own lives, why they couldn't make changes that they wanted to make in their own lives. And I see it. I see the way it can trigger other people, in particular people who are dissatisfied with where they are in life. I can see how my name change and the way that I live my life now kind of jostles them. So I'm aware of it. And it's sort of like the further out I go, I don't feel inclined to explain myself,
No.
to everybody.
Yeah.
Sometimes I simply say it was a change that I needed to make. I had my reasons for it, and I'm happy that I did it.
Yeah.
And that's how I kind of go forward, in
Yeah.
life. But back to your earlier question, the same could be said for any audacious choice that we want to make in our lives, which I think is why you were asking me, does everybody need to do this? No, you could make an audacious choice
Yeah.
in your life, but you need to know why you're doing it.
Yeah.
I mean, you're gonna have to do it ultimately for you. I did all of this for me. It was my truth. I did not do it for any other reason except that I knew it was the right thing for me, and I had to have the courage to see it through.
Yeah.
So if something is driving you that strongly, then I say go.
Yeah.
Go forth and be
No,
audacious.
absolutely. And it's finding the source of the discontent, the unease in you first,
Yes.
and not having the name change be like a solution to that. It's almost like a result of the inner quest that you made, and the result is that you are now Veronica Blackwell Chase.
Yeah,
And that's
that's so
entirely
true.
different
Yes.
than using it as a solution.
Yeah.
And it brings up an association, for me at least, with a lot of the discussion that right now is going on all over the world, and also especially in the US, because this is a name change, and some people change their gender, and which is even, well, I'm not sure if it's bigger, but it's pretty big as
Yeah.
well. And this is also something that I always wonder, is was there enough of a deep dive into where actually the discontent, or the root of it was really addressed before you take, and then such a decision is like a result and not the solution to, okay.
Yeah.
And because then you can kind of escape into a new identity or a new gender. And so yeah, this is something that came to me while you were talking. I'm like, this has so many similarities, and I always truly
Yeah.
hope that people making such big decisions, that they are actually did all journey work, or
Yeah.
well, it's part of the journey. Yeah.
It is part of the journey. And I think one thing I would say about that is, this is where I think, now and in the coming years in particular, like the work that we do around human design and BG5 is so important for
Mm-hmm.
people, because this is the whole thing of like how you can really understand yourself. What is your purpose and life plan supposed to look like in this life? How should you be making decisions? What type of career energy do you have? And I do think that when people don't know or understand all these aspects of themselves, I think it is fair to say, and I've worked with thousands upon thousands of people now over the years in many capacities, that I do think a lot of times people are doing things because of other people, the way other people are imposing on them, or because they want recognition, or they want to be loved, or they want to be liked, or they just want to be seen in some way. A lot of behavior on our part can be driven by people around us. And until you come to understand what's really driving you, I think we might, there might be a lot of unconscious, sort of behavior going on out there. But I guess the other side of it is like, it kind of comes back to, if it feels right and true for you, then you should move forward. The one other thing though, kind of in addition to what you just said, like with names, that I think people don't realize, and I think they end up causing more potential drama and problems in their lives. And I remember thinking through this very clearly. I came to a point in this whole process where I was like, well, should I keep my name, my birth name and married name, and just use this balanced name over here in business?
Mm-hmm.
And I say that because, see, that's a lot of what people do out there. They'll just say, well, there's only so many places you have to truly sign or acknowledge your legal name, but I want you, people, family, and friends, to now call me this. You're actually kind of like, the way I think of it is almost like you're fragmenting your energy, not in a good way.
Yeah.
So your birth name, you still have energetic ties to that. That's still going on in your life. That name is all over the place. And then you have people kind of just randomly calling you another name for whatever reason. And maybe you even sign that name in places. I would just say you're not doing yourself any favors. And I think people think, oh, well, I'm just going to use this name, or people might even research balanced names and say, well, I won't go through the process. But I am telling you that certainly, at least again, in the United States, but I think this is true in any country, the legality of the name matters, because I can distinctly recall the way the energetics completely changed in my life when I released and was freed from the old name and all legal documents, everything, right? My license and the mortgage and everything in my life that had my name on it now got changed to this name. There is immense power in that. So I would also just say, I don't think personally it's a great idea to just like dabble with this type of thing and just be like, well, I'll just do this and I'll do this and I'll have, 3 different names that I use. I just think energetically you're not doing yourself any favors. And I've seen people do this type of thing, and I notice again the patterns and the undesirable experiences they are having in their life. And I do not think that is an accident.
No, I completely agree, because it gives a certain fuzziness in the energy, which makes it actually very unclear. And
Exactly.
and I think this very much fits also the zeitgeist. That's such a lovely German word.
Yeah.
Because in astrology, of course, we have entered the age of Aquarius, and Aquarius is the archetype of the authentic individual. It is not about, okay, I need to be me and I'm not connecting to anybody. No, I'm connecting to people, but from this Aquarius archetype of being true to myself, of of being authentic. And also in human design, we are approaching the era of the individual, and that also has
Yeah.
to do with knowing who you are, knowing your true authenticity. And I think so this is something that is actually triggered or activated in the whole of the collective right now. And so
Yeah.
it's interesting your approach to honoring that your true authentic self. And I totally agree with you that you don't want to put out any fuzziness, but be strong and being aligned
Yes.
in your choices, and how you emit your energy, that it's clear and clean. And yeah, it's and
Absolutely.
but I think and that's why I said this about the zeitgeist. I think uh, and that's why I love tools like astrology and human design and BG5, because they can actually help you to start being more aligned with who you truly are. And I think
Yeah.
that's a goal, whether you change your name or not, because that was true for you. And if there's something that I would like to put out there, is that is the most important thing. What is true to you? So I
That's right.
loved you saying that multiple times during this
Yeah.
conversation. It was true for you, and for
Yeah.
me, something else is true, and for somebody else, something
That's
else
right.
is true.
That's
And
right.
yeah,
I
yeah,
totally with you on that. I don't think, both of us, between us, my gosh, we must be certified in hundreds of things between all of our corporate background and all of the other spiritual work. But um, that is certainly a truth to me in my life at this point, that this is my journey, this is my experience, and I'm happy to share that. But when I work with people, I really am focused on them and their experience, and where are they in their life journey, and how can I use the tools that I have at
mhm,
my disposal to help them understand themselves more deeply, so that they can have the experiences and life
mhm,
that they want.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
And I think you're right. It's like, that is just that's where we're headed. It's not about being a cookie cutter of someone else, or how can I be like this person. It's the question at hand is, how can you be you? How can you really get to that true internal alignment and live your life from, just feeling really authentic? And how do you know that, well, am I being authentic? I think what you'll find is, like, life just flows. Life is a whole lot easier when you live from a place of alignment, because you're not fighting against everything, or you're not, all the other terms that are very Capricornian, right? We have to work hard. We have to, we have to put ourselves out there. We got to do better, work harder,
Yeah,
all of these
yeah.
things. That's actually not the answer, not anymore.
Not anymore. That exactly. It has been the answer for quite a long time, but right now
Yeah.
there are some new ways necessary. And yeah, I love that, and I think I would say almost like amen to that. Be you, and it sounds so easy, and it sounds a bit shallow even. It was, oh, you just got to be you. But what it actually, well, if there's anything hard work, it's trying to be you, and trying to find out who you truly are, because we are so conditioned. So
It's true.
I think it's such a wonderful message, and that's why I'm so happy that we had this conversation, because and I truly hope that everybody watching this is inspired by it, in the sense that maybe changing your name can be true for people watching this as well, but what is
Yeah.
true for you, how you can be you. And we all have our own journeys, and I just loved your journey. And to finish off this conversation, so what's next, Veronica 2.0? Or
Yes. Seriously, that is where we are, aren't we? Veronica 2.0. What is next? So,
yeah,
yeah, I
yeah,
think it's interesting, being at this stage of life. I mean, I'm past, several years past my Chiron return, and that was pretty rocky in there. That's all, the whole name change thing happened like right, around that time. And so I think for me, it's just continuing to be, curious and interested in life, and, continuing to work with people and bringing new ideas and tools to them, and helping them grow, and live in their own lives too, while continuing to remain true and authentic to myself. So to me, it's all exciting.
Yeah, and keep embracing all the experiences, and keep making that journey. Yeah, so yeah, I love
Yeah,
that, and thank you so much, Veronica, for
you're
sharing your
welcome.
story. And if you want to know more about Veronica, not only her story but also about her work, you can check her out on her website, and I will put down in the description box. I will put the link. And thank you so much again, and loved our conversation. And
Thank
yeah,
you.
so
Thank you. Great
okay,
talking with you.
okay.
All
Big
right.
kiss to
Bye.
you. Bye
Bye. See ya.
bye.